Howdy, howdy. So it is Tuesday, and it looks like the Iran war is finally starting to have an effect on the markets. I thought Monday would see a bit of a gap down, but absolutely nothing happened on Monday, which is, I think, quite surprising. However, reality is settling in now. So here's a S&P 500. We're having a bit of a down day here. Now, 2 weeks ago, I mentioned in a live session about NDV. So NDV is non-directional volatility, and this is typically when the big boys want to phase out of an asset after a long period of melting up of some sort, and then eventually the clanger drops. And what I was saying is that the S&P 500 looks like in a prime NDV situation over here. In fact, it's almost identical to this NDV here, and the markets don't repeat themselves, but they rhyme pretty darn well. So one of my there's not really a concern because I have no stock really, but I think the market is starting to price in a lot of the uncertainty. With the Strait of Hormuz being closed, it's not so much a biggie for the Western countries, but it is big for China and Russia. And it's not so much Iran blocking the Strait of Hormuz now. It's actually the insurance. It's like Lloyd's of London. No one will underwrite a ship going through Hormuz now. So this is affecting China more than anything. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if equities started to take a bit of a tumble. The Dow Jones is constantly falling. The Nasdaq, again, less affected, but again, it's sat there on a perch. The DAX, the FTSE, everything's having a bit of a wobble, and oil obviously is starting to move up. So, in a way, in a not a masochistic way, in some sort of I don't know what word to explain it. This is not a bad thing for crypto. It's early March. It's better to have this now than in summertime, because all that war does, and markets tumbling, is it just accelerates and exacerbates the reasons and pressure for the Federal Reserve to start printing. And not just that, China. If China's going to have oil issues now, they're going to have to resort to stimulus as well. So in a horrible way, this is sort of good for crypto, and I hate saying that. Gold was what was starting to regain its way back up until today. So that's interesting. From crypto perspective, I'm still waiting for the Tether market cap to sort of reverse. This is the first time in a long time where Tether has not just been marching upwards. Every time we've had a bit of a lull, it's always bounced back, and when this happens, Bitcoin does its thing. And talking about Bitcoin, a lot has happened here with the dominance, so the Bitcoin market share. I was analysing this rising channel here, and I said at some point with a rising channel, you do see it flopping through, but you just don't know when the flop happens, whether it's here, or here. Well, it happened there, and it's continuing to go down. So I do think that Bitcoin market share will continue to fall. So that's good. We haven't seen that on ETH so much just yet. This is the inverse of Bitcoin market share. But one thing that is interesting is that when you look at the total crypto market cap, excluding the top 10, it seems to be grinding out a bit of a bottom here. I think that's quite impressive, quite important. And then when we're looking at the US PMI, the Purchasing Managers Index, we only see crypto booming when the PMI is really booming. So we've suddenly got this moved back up here. So there has been a whole delay with the PMI and liquidity cycles. But this should, after the war, this should pick up. And I don't believe this Iranian war will be like a long a decade-long war like we've seen in Iraq and Afghanistan. I don't think there's going to be as much military-industrial complex type shizzle going on, because it's in their interest for extended long wars, and I don't think this is the case. So that's that. What else is there? Yeah, global M2 is still rising. M2 in general is rising. And also, when we're looking... okay, everything's changed other than the last day or two, but US bond yields were starting to drop other than yesterday and today. I think this is just a recursive, sort of reflexive pullback here. But we'll see how that goes. Let's fast forward to Bitcoin. Yeah, one of the things, again, I mentioned the other day, this is something I saw on Twitter actually, which I thought, let's double check that. And basically what this person was saying is that when you look at the all-time high breach until to the low, it's pretty standard. So if we were to look at the breach of the previous all-time high here to the low, that gives us, what is it? Is it this one? No, it's this one. 98 bars. So this is a weekly chart, so it's 98 weeks from the breach to the low. Then we had the all-time high breach here to the low was 93 weeks. Breach to low, 99 weeks. And then again, we've had the breach to the low now, which is, where are we? 103 weeks. So is this going to continue? I don't know. But I thought that was quite interesting. This leads us to Tau. I mean, the thing you have to remember with Tau is that Tau going down is not a Tau thing. This is a general market thing. So Bitcoin has obviously fallen quite a lot. So too has ETH. So too has Sol. So too has every other coin. And BitTensor has actually fallen a lot less than many of its peers. So if you look at Render, one of the biggest AI projects, I mean, this is in the gutter. Filecoin again is in the gutter. So yeah, Claw is literally dead now. FET. So like of all the crypto projects, all AI crypto projects out there, there's only one left really, and that's Tau. I know it looks horrendous, but it's actually not too bad. So yeah, hopefully. And there seems to be a bit of a premium in the new Grayscale BitTensor Trust. So whether that will come back down, I'm not sure. But when you see a massive premium in a product like this, it shows that there's big money trying to get exposure to it, but not actually buying the underlying thing. So that's that. When we look at BitTensor in general, if we zoom out from the beginning of Dynamic Tau, you can see a lovely trend here. So the sum of subnet prices is moving up nicely. We've really ground. Oh no, it's this February that we need to look at. If we just wait for the hamster wheel to, there we go. That's better. Yeah. So detail started 13th of February. Last in 2025, we had the exuberance and euphoria, and then we have ground out a lovely base within the subnets. So we hit sort of 1.1 in some of the subnets around sort of August time, and then we went a lot lower and we ground out this lovely bottom here. And you can see it's just subnets are just are moving up now consistently. Also, when you look at the percentage or the amount of Tau leaving root, so subnet 0, this is an ever increasing or a reducing chart here. So this is lovely to see. And then you look at the percentage of Tau that flows into subnets is constantly rising. So we're getting this lovely grinding up of subnets. We're at like 1.28 at the moment. And the percentage of Tau in subnets is only 18%. So this is only going to go a lot higher, and so too is some of subnets. It's just going to keep on going up. I mean, those are two of the most important charts out there, really, when it comes to BitTensor. And again, percentage of Tau en route is just going into subnets. So I really wouldn't worry about that. The other important thing is that when you're looking at the subnets, so every time you see a vertical spike here, that shows that a subnet has been deregistered and a new one has been registered. And the new one basically takes the subnet slot of whoever's just been deregged. So this was happening really fast. It was happening like every 2 to 4 days. And then they softened or flattened sort of the price decay of a new subnet. So it's now, we're seeing sort of a dereg every week. So 2nd of Feb to the 11th, that was a longer one. But it is roughly about a week in between subnet registrations. And the sort of the price for a new subnet tends to be around 400 to 500 tau. And so when we're looking at this, you can see 96 is the next one on the chopping block. Look at the price, 3.6. Now, as time gets closer, this will probably be bid up a bit to try and get them to try and affect their EMA to get out of the chopping block. But if we look at Sparkle at 57, which is the next one, it's at 3.6. So really, the dereg price is going to be is about 0.0037, let's say, maybe 3.8. And so this is creating a lovely floor, because when the dereg started, it was at 0.001, and we're already, call it 3 months in, it's gone from 0.001 to 0.0037. So this floor is rising. So, and this is one of the things I'm always saying, is that when you're, looking at investing in subnets, obviously you need to go with the flow, go with the momentum, etc. But like if you were to order this by price from top to bottom, obviously you're playing with fire when you're playing with the very cheap ones, but the risk to reward ratio is pretty good, because let's say you were to invest in FlameWire right here, which is actually a really good team, good product, great product in fact. They've just been very poor at marketing. Their price right now is pretty much the dereg price. So if you were to buy into there and then it were to get deregged, your downside is realistically only sort of like 20%, but the upside is a lot higher. And so if you do play with the lower price subnets, you are going to run into the risk of getting deregged, but you at least have a way high probability of doubling, tripling, quadrupling your pot if you get into a nice runner. That's about it really. Again, everything in general is subdued. Prices are still not going up. So I know if you're looking at your portfolio, it's going to be slightly depressing, but BitTensor today is a lot stronger than it was last week. Every week it's getting stronger. There's still, again, a lot of subnets that aren't really doing anything, but that is changing every single week. Right, I hope this makes sense, and I'll see you soon. Cheerio.